Presenting the Spirit of Excellence Award to Eli is his father, Dan Stokols.
It's a wonderful honor for us to be here and to take joy in this recognition of Eli. We appreciate it very much, and it's a great pleasure to hand this award to you. Thank you, Eli. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. It's really awesome to be here tonight. I've run back into an old babysitter tonight who used to babysit me when I was a kid. A friend from high school I haven't seen since high school, and Coach Mark Cunningham from uni, who was awesome. Thank you for passing me out of your 9th grade science class. I do not think I was a stellar student. I have not met Mr. Rod Carew yet, but if he's over there, I would just like to say, please don't leave yet. I'm coming for you. I just want a picture. I want a handshake. It's awesome to be in the same room as you. I went over to uni yesterday to see Coach Stokols, who's in the video, visit with his team this year, and I asked them if any, he said, when did you graduate? And I said 1997, and I looked at them, I said, was anybody even born then? I was terrible at math, so I had to ask, and they all shook their heads and said, no, it's a little absurd. But it doesn't feel like it's been nearly that long, and I have so many strong memories still. You saw some pictures of them up in the video. I remember getting knocked out of the University Park spelling bee when I was in 3rd grade. My dad and we went over a ton of words. I knew how to spell exacerbate, and then I screwed up on believe, the whole I and E thing. I mean, gotta walk before you run. I remember working in 6th grade in Miss McGuire's class on our yearbook and cutting up pictures and making collages. And also in 6th grade, I remember vividly this outdoor education trip that we took for a week to the mountains. I mean, I was thinking about it today, and I went and found, I've been carrying around this book all night, sort of absurd, but I found my journal. I've always been a writer. My parents gave me this book when I went up to the mountains that time in 6th grade, and I was reading this, and I was just dying. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but my favorite song apparently was I Love My Aardvark. I was in cabin 11. These are the things you forget. I was in bunk 1. I have a diagram of the bunks. And then on the last page, I drew in pencil like a really bad picture of some pine trees. And there's a quote. I quoted myself, apparently. This is in quotes. It says, "This week I saw some of the most beautiful sights I've ever seen in my whole life and probably ever will." 12/10/1990. It's dated, and I quoted myself, so. The first campaign I ever really covered was actually in 8th grade when Mrs. Turner gave us an assignment to follow the presidential race. It was 1992. I did a report on this guy, Bill Clinton, who I'd never heard anything about. And then I remember a few months later watching the inauguration from Miss Turner's sort of the room in the middle of the school where it wasn't our classroom, but everybody was in there watching. I remember Maya Angelou giving her speech. I remember it strongly as the first presidential election I ever really tuned into. And I did it because of my social studies class in 8th grade. Uni High, I spent hundreds of hours on the baseball field there, but it's also a place where a teacher named Mrs. Hickman in 9th grade started showing us slides of famous art, and it awakened an amazing love for art and art history. That's an amazing memory, and you know, I learned to read in my kindergarten class, Ms. Bjornstad at UP, but I really learned to read literature and actually understand it with the help of teachers in high school like Karen Spiros, Terry Saray, and Judy Conroy. And the whole time I was going through this process, I had an awareness that I was lucky to be in a great public school system. I don't think I was aware at the time of what it took to make it that way, about all the volunteer hours from teachers, from parents, and about all the additional resources that continue to be more and more important these days at a time when, as you know, state and local resources are harder to come by. So back then we did paper drives. It was sort of antiquated, but I think in the 80s we stacked up newspapers and tried to raise money for the school. I remember that. But thank you to all of you for being here and for being so generous tonight. Thank you, obviously, to 5 Point, the presenting sponsor, and to all the sponsors, including Jim Rome, whose show I used to listen to as a child and probably is why I'm so obnoxious these days on TV, because I listen to him. And, you know, you're not going to be the huge call of the day unless you got a take. So, and thank you, of course, to Nada and everybody at the foundation for this honor, because it is, it's humbling to be here. So thank you for everything and for the fantastic video and just for including me in this great, great night that does so much for the current students and for future generations of students who are going to come through these great schools. And before I go, just want to thank my parents. I don't get a ton of chances to stand on stage when they're ever really, but with them in the audience. And, you know, more than... You met my dad, Dan. That's my mom, Jeannie, over there. They are two of the nicest, humblest people you will meet. And more than anyone else, they're the ones who really helped me at every turn. They drove me to school. They drove me to baseball practice. They came to my games. They made sure I did my homework. They stepped in when I needed help editing an assignment or actually making sense of these books. I remember I had a particular hard time with Tale of Two Cities and Pride and Prejudice in 9th and 10th grade, and we did a lot of, I think we read those books together. They focused me on the details. I'm not necessarily always the most detail-oriented, and they focused on deadlines and things like that for applying to colleges. And really, they have just continued to support me like nobody else over all of my 38 years. So I know I've always known they're proud of me, and I hope they know how proud I am to be their son, and just lucky to have their example to follow. So thank you to them, and thank you to all of you for really this great award. Thank you.